It's really exciting to be here at the beginning of a movement in a new industry. It sounds really loud. Is that good, actually? Okay. It's too loud for me, but if it works for you, that's good. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is this idea of treating your employees like family. And what I want to start out with is just a little mini visualization. So I want you each to, you can close your eyes if you want or not, and think of whatever words come to mind when you think about family, for you personally. And we're not going to even get into business, but just personally, are there key words that represent family to you? So we have trust, commitment, love, unity, support, food, together. Now, are there tough things that come to mind with family as well? Conflict, disagreement. And when you have conflict and disagreement, kind of what brings you back together? What was that? Conversation. Compromise. So I have up on the slide a picture of Badger and our employees. We have about 100 employees right now. And there's this concept in business, which is that you're supposed to leave your personal life at home. And when you're at work, you're just at work and you're a robot that doesn't have anything of the influences of your personal life. And there's certainly some truth to having a professional persona and leaving some of your personal life at home. But every single person who works at Badger comes with the influence of their family life, of their home life. And that influences how they are each day. If they had a rough day, if they had a sick child and they were up all night, that's going to influence how they are the next day. If they had a wonderful week with family, that influences it. And family, no matter what we want to do to keep family out, which I don't think is the right approach, it's there in our everyday at work. And one of the things that's unique about Badger is not only is it family owned and operated, and this keeps disappearing. So I'm there in the front next to my husband and my mother and my father and my sister. We all work together to run the company. But there's also this other unique thing, which is that we seem to attract families. We have 2 mother-daughter combinations there, several married couples, sisters, a set of brothers, 2 sets of brothers actually. And then on top of that, we invite our employees to bring their babies for the first 6 months when they have babies into work as a transition back into the working environment, and we've created a program around that. And I'll get back into that later. But what we've done as a company is to embrace this presence of family in our employees and allowed it to be part of their work. And I think that the end result is a commitment and love and caring that we have between us and our employees that makes a big difference in how they show up to work each day. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of our founding story, but before I get into that, since our theme is family, I think the context needs to be my family story, because who we are as a company is directly influenced by how we live as a family. So I grew up out in a cabin in the woods. We had no running water. We had gardens. We had little bunk beds with buckets of rice and beans and things like that stored underneath, and we had to go down to a stream and carry jugs of water up to our house. And the reason we lived like that is because both my parents decided they wanted to be home parents. Neither of them really wanted to work because they wanted to spend as much time as possible with my 2 sisters and me. And so they worked on and off, but we sacrificed having a really fancy home with modern luxuries for this very rustic cabin in the woods until I was about 8 years old. And that had a huge influence in who I am as a person and my ability to feel loved and secure and confident in the world, but also had an influence in everything that we chose to do as a family. And so in 1995, when my father started Badger, those influences are what made the company what it is today. So we didn't start the company and say, we're going to be a leader in the sustainable natural products industry. We didn't start the company saying, we're going to make organic products because there's a growing market for that. My father started the company because he had cracked hands in the winter. He was a carpenter, contractor at the time. And he needed something to solve that problem. He created the first product, and being a serial entrepreneur, where every idea turned into a business, this turned into a business. The product was functional, but it became organic, and we became a mission-driven company because that's who we are as a family. And that was the driving force behind why we're in, well, not why we're in business, but just how we did things. And it influenced everything we did. So you can see here, this is the first product, the healing balm for hardworking hands. And you know what's interesting about this is it's just a simple beeswax olive oil balm. Lots of people can make it. It's nothing special, nothing innovative. But while there were many, many other companies who had these products at farmers markets and things like that, our company became successful. And I think the reason that it became successful was a combination of just going for it and having an authentic approach to how we're doing business. A lot of times people will ask, what's the return on investment for being a sustainable business? And I don't think that's actually the right approach. I think what happens is you do the right thing and then good things happen. But if your approach is to try and do the right thing to make money, and that's your driving force, people can tell that it's not as authentic, so it doesn't actually work that way. So it's not to say that there isn't a great return on investment for doing the right thing, but unless you're doing it for the right reasons, it doesn't actually pan out. So I think that as a company, we continue to make business decisions based on what we felt in our heart was the right thing. My father recently had this thing that he wrote in a piece of marketing, which, you know, the idea of marketing is the truth made fascinating. And so he's a storyteller, and he wrote, "Kindness is my compass." And that's something that really resonated with us, because this idea that if you use kindness as a lens through which you make business decisions, what kind of decisions are you going to make as a company? What's the end result of using that lens? I think it's incredible. It's a completely different way of doing business. It's not to say that you use kindness and then to the point where you no longer have a business. There's a balance. But if every time you have a question in business, you think, what's the kind way to approach this? And how can I do it in a way that my business can still be successful? You're going to make very different decisions, and it will lead to a really wonderful end result. This is a picture of my family, and my little niece, Maya, is there with us as well. How many of you either have a family business, work with a family, or work for a family business? Okay. A lot of people. So this is actually quite prevalent in this industry. So you'll know that it's not all beautiful and wonderful and happy to work for a family business or to work with your family. There's challenges with this, because that's what family is. It's great, and it's challenging, and it can be raw, and it can be difficult. So when we first started working together, all as a family, when my sister and I came back from our travels and doing different things to work for our family business, we went through a whole process of figuring out how to be in business together as a family and how to treat each other in a way that was both caring but also professional, and how to treat our employees in that same way. We actually did a family leadership coaching, a whole year of it, kind of like counseling but for business. And that helped us to be able to find a balance of bringing that closeness into our everyday work and that caring without losing kind of the forward momentum of being a growing business. And now this is our building that we have, and we, about 5 years ago, we were able to transition from the first kind of small, dark, and haunted house that we had as our offices into a building that we built. And when we moved into this building, it was like coming home. And what we tried to do with this building is to create a feeling of home, because your employees, and we work there every day, we spend so much of our life at work. And so creating an environment that feels pleasant, that feels like somewhere you want to be every day, and that your employees want to be every day, completely transform what the experience of going to work is. And, you know, I think going back to this return on investment idea, one of the things that came up in the last couple of years is our state of New Hampshire is struggling, and businesses are having a really hard time finding employees right now. And I'm going to these meetings with other businesses where they're saying, I don't know what to do, I can't find talented workforce, people are moving out of New Hampshire. The millennials are moving out of New Hampshire. We can't retain our young workforce, and we can't retain even older, more talented workforce. It's a major issue. And I kept thinking to myself, well, we don't have that issue. We seem to have plenty of people applying for all of our jobs, and the difference isn't that, you know, we pay astronomically more than other people. We do really work to have a really solid base living wage. Because again, if you have employees going home and they can't put food on the table for their families, they're not going to show up to work in the same way, and it's just not how we want to be in the community. And so, but what we work with is this idea of a higher base living wage and a lower executive wage, and that's kind of how we balance it out. But we still are able to get incredibly talented people at all levels of the company because they're on board with what we're doing, and because they're dedicated to our mission as a company and to us as a family, just as we're dedicated to them as employees. And my husband this morning, I was telling him about my talk today, he asked that I mention something, which is I had an employee who we really had a tough time working together, and it ended up ending. She left the company, and we're still really good friends. I go meet with her, we talk about business visions and ideas, and what that says to me is that despite the fact that we were unable to work together at the company, it wasn't the right fit, that the relationship we built there was more like family, and that we were able to get over our differences and continue to have a professional and friend relationship. And I think that's important because then also how you represent in the community is positive even for those people who don't end up fitting in with the company in the long run. That just disappeared. There we go. So as I mentioned, we're a mission-driven business, and like to distill our mission into kind of 3 parts. The first being healing products. And so you notice I haven't talked a lot about our products, and that's partly because I feel like the core of who we are as a company is how we run our business, and the products are secondary. That being said, if we make products, we want them to positively influence the world. We want them to be healing products. We want them to not just be not bad. We want them to be good. And so I actually oversee product development, and one of the things that I do in product development is we have this vision of making products for people that we love, which sounds a little hokey to begin with. So we had to think of how do we actually build that into an SOP? How do we make that something that we do every time so it's not just this, vision that we can never attain? And so what we do in product development is we have a product champion for every product we launch. That's someone that we know personally, that we have a relationship with, who's excited about the product, and we look them in the eye and we talk to them about the product. And so we personalize that whole experience. And that's how we're able to make products that we feel are healing products rather than just making a widget to fill some number that we have in a marketing report that's very distant. Because if you make a product for data, it's very different than making a product for someone that you can talk to. It completely transforms that. And it's not to say that if you're making a product because you have this number that you're looking at and kind of this vague idea of a consumer, it's just that you ask different questions when you know the person that you're talking to and when you care about the person you're talking to. So when you're looking at data, you might say, okay, what's my margin? What's the price? What are the, what are the factors that this broad study came out with? And if I come out with a product that meets all those, then it's going to be successful. Whereas when you have a conversation with someone, you think about, how will this impact their life? What will be their experience of the product? And it becomes much more personalized, and you come out with a very different type of product. And we have the experience with our sunscreen, which is now the best-selling sunscreen in the natural market. And when we came out with it, the market research said that people wanted large family size, easy to apply, and cheap. And we came out with a small, expensive, difficult to apply sunscreen. But it was the safest sunscreen on the market. And the idea with it was, we'll never sell any of it, but for those people who really want something that's the safest possible thing for their family, this is going to be the right product. And it will just be kind of a niche product. And it was for the first year until a study came out the following year that showed that that was something that was really significant and important. The other part of our mission is this idea of running a healthy business. And so this comes into how we treat our employees, how we are in our community, our impact in terms of how we work with our suppliers. And the two go hand in hand. This is actually one of our employees, Emily, with her 2 children and her husband at our lunch, and they're eating outside for lunch. We do a farm-to-table lunch program during the summer. These are our beehives. I'm running out of time because I just ended up getting so excited about the beginning part. So I won't have as much time for this last part, but luckily Kim went over all of this. But I was going to talk about the evolution of business a little bit. And the main thing I want to say here is that sometimes you talk to people and they say, well, this idea of socially responsible business, it's kind of niche. It's never really going to go anywhere. Yeah, there'll be some people who care about it, but it's just not going to become mainstream. And to those people, I just think that they're not looking at the change that's going on, that business doesn't stay the same, nothing stays the same. So if they think that business is not going to change and evolve, then I think they're not looking forward into the future enough. And I think that right now we're in the midst of this change and we're seeing it. And the B Corp movement is just one really powerful mechanism for helping to collect people around that change. And I think this group here, you're working on collecting people around change as well, and it's really helping to lead us into a new form of business, which I think is important and critical and where business needs to go. Just to wrap up, we have Emily and Amanda with their 2 kids here, and just a little bit on our what we do at the company. So all of our benefits have come from employees asking if they could do something, and again, going through this lens of kindness. And so we had an employee ask if they could bring their baby to work, and so we created a program around that. And what we've since done is created something that supports the life cycle of the family. So starting with extended maternity and paternity leave, leading into the babies at work, to the subsidized childcare, to camp programs that we pay for when the children are older, and flexible work hours. But again, thinking about the life cycle of families and the idea that children are the responsibility of a community, not just the parents, and that businesses play a critical role in supporting a community as well. And that's really our value to the community, is not only to create a positive workforce and place for people to be each day, but also to have a positive influence on the community around us. And I've already gone over a little bit of this idea of the cost benefit of being kind, but what I wanted to wrap up with is this idea of, so we've talked a little bit about how it can benefit you, but I want everyone to just take a moment to think about what's one thing that you could do in your business to bring an element of kindness to treating your employees like family. It doesn't have to cost any money. It could just be an approach of how you talk to people, or the values that you bring, or just seeing them as whole people. And so I'm going to leave you with that and give you a moment to just think about that. And if you want to shout out a few things, you can do that, or just keep it to yourself. That's fine too. We'll wait a moment. And this picture here is in our little labyrinth that we have, and these are the children, including my niece there, from our daycare center, some of them walking the meditation labyrinth near the gardens. And, as a lot of people have said, these are our future. And the way that we want to have our business evolve, I think, is to support this future and to support what our children and our community children have for our future. Thank you.